Good afternoon, Miami Dolphins fans. Welcome to a special edition of Dolphins on 5. I'm David Eversole, joined, of course, by Alfredo Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry. And stay tuned throughout the day. We're going to have a lot of coverage on what's been an exciting trade deadline, but we have a special show here. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the news that the Miami Dolphins made not one, but two very substantial trades this afternoon, right at the deadline. The marquee deal, obviously, being acquiring Bradley Chubb, the elite pass rusher from Denver. And they also acquired someone familiar to Mike McDaniel, Jeff Wilson, the running back from San Francisco. So we're going to break down both of those trades with Alfredo here and give you the latest on the Dolphins roster and where they stand now. So, Alfredo, thanks for taking a few minutes. I know you've got a lot going on today. So let's get right into it. So tell us, let's start with the Bradley Chubb trade today. Give us the details on that.
Well, if you watch the Dolphin defense all year, you can see that they're making a transition toward a different style of defense, and it's going to be by necessity to try to beat the guys that are at the top of the AFC, namely Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. You really just can't blitz those two guys. You're going to have to play a little softer coverages, and you're going to have to try to get to him with 4 and at most 5. You're gonna have to play softer coverages. You're gonna have to use your pass rush to get to him. You can't use those gimmick zero blitzes against him, either quarterback. So this is a move that is made with the Super Bowl in mind, and I think that they're signaling two things. First of all, they're signaling they like their quarterback going forward, and they're also signaling that they're going to use all their cap space that they can use in the next 2 years to bolster this roster as much as possible. But it's mostly about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, this move. And I'll explain why. They've been using Jalen Phillips in what is like a buck linebacker spot, which is basically standing up wide of the tackle, either in 7 tech or 9 tech, and just speed rushing to try to use stunts on the interior to get to the quarterback with 4 or 5. That hasn't been working. Jalen Phillips has done his best work as a 5 tech, or even sometimes rushing as a 3 tech. Adding Bradley Chubb, first of all, he's third in the league in pass rush win rate. Okay, he is an elite pass rusher. He can now play that buck linebacker spot. He could rush as a buck linebacker, and that unlocks Jalen Phillips. I love the move. I think that this move was made with trying to get a pass rush with 4 or 5 consistently in mind, and I absolutely love it. And they didn't really give up much of anything. I said the other day on Twitter that anytime you're going to pick past 25th in the first round, I traded for an impact player or I traded for more picks.
And the 49ers are currently, I think, 4-4 now, but
they're going to pile on. So. If you watch them play against the Rams, they dismantled the Rams this past Sunday. They're going to pile on a ton of wins. They're going to be picking in the late 20s, maybe even in the 30s, in the early 30s. So, yeah, trade the pick. I thought that they did a great job of monetizing that pick into an impact player. Bradley Chubb is a really, really good pass rusher. I love the trade.
Yeah, you see what they gave up here, obviously, for getting a frontline player for that type of pick. I think you make that move every time without hesitation. So you mentioned Jalen Phillips, obviously, with the addition of Chubb. So we have a question here. What do you think about Emmanuel Ogbah and how he now fits into this pass rush and the defensive mix?
Well, Emmanuel Ogbah has had a bad season so far. He had a spectacular game against the Buffalo Bills. And ever since then, he did catch that back injury, and he really hasn't been that good. If you look at his contract and you dig deep into it, he will be here next year. Or they're going to have to trade him, and somebody's going to have to take on that money. But he will be here next year, and then the following year, you can cut him at minimal cost. So that's what's going to happen with Emmanuel Ogbah going forward. I would expect for them to look for a taker, but he'll likely be here next year because I don't know if anybody's going to take on that money for next year.
Yeah, that's fine. You can always have the depth here, and he's a good quality player when he's at his peak, if you will. But the second deal, obviously, is going to be one that's going to impact the other side of the football. So the Dolphins made a move to kind of reunite the San Francisco backfield here. They also picked up Jeff Wilson for a 5th-round draft pick. So what do you think of that move? Obviously, Chase Edmonds went the other way with the Bradley Chubb trade. So what do you think of this Dolphins backfield now with Mostert and Wilson?
I think it's a really, really smart trade. I can tell you that they were working the phones for all the usual suspects. I was told that they had contact for Cam Akers and they had contact for Kareem Hunt. Now, the problem with Kareem Hunt is that the media has made it sound a little bit too easy to acquire Kareem Hunt because everybody keeps saying, oh, you can have him for a fourth round pick. And that sounds great. First of all, the Dolphins did not have a fourth round pick. But like, let's say, okay, yeah, it sounds, it's perfect. It's perfect to just go get Kareem Hunt for a fourth round pick. It would have been a rental. I don't think the Dolphins were in on trading a fourth round pick for 9 games of Kareem Hunt. He wants a big contract. And when I say he wants a big contract, I'm talking a big contract, something commensurate with what Joe Mixon got, which is around $10 or $11 million a year. But that's not the big number. The big number would be in excess of $20 million guaranteed. This is not the type of team and this is not the type of system that would guarantee $20 million to a running back. So gone is Kareem Hunt. And Cam Akers, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe the Rams just weren't serious about trading him because they've had ample opportunity and he's asked out for a while now. So that brings us to Jeff Wilson. You traded out Chase Edmonds, who was, quite frankly, and we talked about this on our podcast, he was not a very good fit for this system starting off. And then you could see that he was just having a bad season. He was beginning to get into his own head. He's a really smart guy. And, those are kind of the guys that would get into their own heads, right? So what did they do? They replaced Chase Edmonds with a guy who's a perfect fit for the system. And now they essentially have 2 guys which are tailor-made for this system. And both worked under Mike McDaniel. He's very familiar with both guys. Both guys can catch it out of the backfield. It's a perfect fit. This was really, really good work by Chris Greer here today.
Yeah, I think obviously if you can keep these guys healthy, there's going to be a lot that McDaniel will be able to do and utilize them in terms of the offense now. So a lot of other big moves were made throughout the NFL today. It was a really exciting day. But for Dolphins fans, I think this definitely shows you that the team is in win now mode. And I think they're obviously banking that Tua is QB1 for now and for the foreseeable future. You don't see anything that would change the narrative on that. So any last thoughts or words before we wrap up? I know you've got a big podcast coming out tonight as well.
Yeah, one last thing, 2 things. The Laramie Tunsil trade is now completed. They netted, if you go through all the machinations of it, Noah Benogany, Javon Holland, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Bradley Chubb. I think that's a good trade.
And draft picks are like a lottery ticket. You don't know if it's going to cash. I mean, these are proven Pro Bowl and all pro caliber players, most of them, outside of Wilson, who's a very solid, starting caliber running back that you get for a 5th round draft pick. I don't think that's going to be a move that's seen as anything but positive. So excited to see how these guys, and they're both eligible to play on Sunday, correct?
Yeah, both will play on Sunday. Both are eligible to play. There's this rule where I believe it's 18, where you can't play 18 games. Bradley Chubb can possibly play 18 games if I have this correctly. I have to look at it, but by the way, he's already done an interview, and he's happy to get down here. And there's a lot of sound and a lot of video out there that people can catch up with. But yeah, I think it's a great move. It's a great move, and I would expect that both would play on Sunday.
Yeah, it's exciting that the Dolphins are in the buyer's situation. In years past, obviously, they've been jettisoning players. We went through the whole rebuild in the Flores era. So it's the dawn of a new day here in South Florida in terms of the optimism and the trajectory of this team. So going to have a lot more today, not only with 3 yards per carry. We got the Pulse of Fins Nation and so much more coverage. Big Heat game tonight as well with Heat and the Warriors. So we're going to have some prize picks coverage for that later on. So I want to thank Alfredo for joining us last minute, everybody for tuning in, and check us out later on throughout the day.